All right, so question 19 for chapter 19 really discusses, says here, the many studies that have highlighted differences in the ways men and women communicate, what accounts for these differences. As we can see in the reading, there are different communication styles and just different ways of communication when looking between men and women. Generally speaking, of course, um, there's no cookie cutter, on this. Every person is different. I'm sure you work with folks who are, the exception to this rule that's outlined in the textbook, but that's generally speaking. Men, on the one hand, really have a high value. They really look highly on status and hierarchy. List that in the textbook. They're also less likely to seek help from others or seek assistance from others. They're really push back against any vulnerability or weakness. They don't want to be seen as vulnerable or weak. And image is important for men. That's how it outlines it kind of in the textbook. And for women, that's not really the case. Women are more focused on opportunities, more of collaborating, building rapport with other folks in the company, colleagues, seniors, speaking up the ladder and building relationships. More democratic than men are. I'm sure we all know colleagues that are like this. Again, there are exceptions to the rule for sure, but generally speaking, when looking down the reading, it definitely kind of outlines these points. And also the point, I know it's part of the question here, women who speak more get more negative views from males as well as female colleagues, and they speak up, as opposed to men who want to seem to speak up and dominate the conversation. It's kind of unique. I'm not really sure why that is, but I've even seen that in my workplace and my professional career. So those are definitely some differences to keep in mind when reading the textbook. So question 20 from chapter 20. I think a good prop for this would be a coin. There's really two sides of a coin. Organizations either operate on a formal or informal level. The question goes on, the organizational chart often defines the formal structure and formal lines of authority. Sometimes the formal structure does not convey the true nature of power and influence within an organization. How and in what ways does the informal organizational structure define the basis of power within a company, and how would a new employee understand the role of the informal network? So it's a long question, but that's the question for chapter 20. And just kind of breaking it down, formal structure sometimes does not convey the true nature of power and influences in an organization. You may look at a hierarchical map of your company and say, yeah, technically it's outlined like this, but on the day-to-day, this person go for this and this person go for this. Even though it's formal, the informal is kind of the normal day-to-day. And when discussing informal organization structure and defining the base of power within a company, every company has a formal structure, and then if you look, there's always informal structures, pieces of power, different dynamics they'll definitely have to keep in mind, with an organization, especially managing one. And how would a new employee understand the role in an informal network? You don't really know until you're there. I mean, we've all worked at different companies and different organizations. You know the formal structure, right, from your new employment handbook, things like that. But what is really the informal network you're going to be working with on a day-to-day? That's something you kind of learn as you go. And really, the formal lines of authority versus informal lines of authority, or what's really going on the ground, that can be seen kind of on a day-to-day. And organizations really do have this dual side coin, formal and informal.